rocks and has oceans of lava.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Still not as bad as what happens around Uranus.
You know, when the final reviews on PTI are written, 15, 20 years from now, they're going to say, you know, they did okay. Except there was this one blemish year after year after year after year. And you know what I'm talking about.
Are you saying the blemish is Uranus? Really?
No,
welcome to
it's
PTI, boys
Uranus.
and girls. In today's episode, the NBA appears to have a start date. Cleveland looks to trade Francisco Lindor, and the Dolphins say they're committed to Tua. But we begin today with tonight's Thursday night game between Green Bay and San Francisco, a rematch of last year's NFC Final. This game will go on tonight despite the fact that both teams will be missing starters because of COVID protocols. The 49ers have not only lost Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle to injury, but they are missing 3 starters to the virus or contract tracing. And Green Bay is also without 3 players because of these protocols. Wilbon, is the NFL right to go on with this game?
I'm not going to say the NFL is right or wrong. I kept thinking, okay, when is the announcement going to come, Tony, that the game is going to be moved to Sunday or, you know, double up on Monday? I kept thinking that would come, and who knows, maybe it will still come. I look at these things, and if it seems as if the judicious play is to move it, to wait, to sort of take into account and double down on health and safety, then why not do it? I'm not going to say that the league is wrong, but 6 or 7 people to me that are missing because of this element, it just seems like that's easy enough a reason to say this is warranted, we're going to move it.
So if I ran the league, I would move the game. I'd move it to Sunday or Monday if I ran the league. But if I ran Fox Television and I'd paid a lot of money for the Thursday night package, I'd want a game because I already lost one this year. I'm assuming that football looked at what happened with baseball. And they said baseball did a real good job of keeping the games moving. And the Miami Marlins at one point had to go into the street to pick up players to fill out their roster. And they did so and made the playoffs. I think that's why, Mike, that the NFL has a larger roster and a more flexible roster because they want to say to all the teams in the league, we're going to go on. We're going to do our best. Our plan is to go on with the games. That's our policy.
Yeah, I think football's arrogance won't allow them to look at anybody else and take any tips. They don't do that. But I do agree with you that football had more time to prepare. And it had time to at least look at the other sports, not that they would ever acknowledge they were looking, and say, okay, here's what we're going to have to do to sort of just prepare ourselves in case. But, Tony, you know, like you said about your role as commissioner and not head of a network, isn't this the in case? Isn't this where we are? Don't you take that extra step to avoid, you know, more drama and potential danger if you can? And they can.
Everybody has, like the Big Ten has rules, the ACC has rules, the NBA had rules. I think what the NFL is doing is essentially saying this. We are a contact sport. We lose players to injuries all the time. We're going to treat the virus and the contract tracing like in-game injuries, and our policy will be to go on next man up.
Yeah.
That's what I think they're doing.
And just keep in mind, Tony, there were other developments. I mean, the Bears they didn't have to. They shut down their practice facility. So did Houston. And those 2 teams play each other Sunday. So, there's more going on than just the game we're looking at tonight and the competitors in that. Let's move to the NBA and what appears to be agreement on the start date of a new season. Adrian Wojnarowski reports that players are expected to approve the league's ask for a December 22nd tip. A substantial faction of players and stars had been pushing for a January 18 start. Tone, why do you think they've come around to this earlier date?
Well, I can't imagine there's any other answer than money. The players want to make as much of their salaries as they can, and why shouldn't they? The owners want to try and make as much money as they can, and why shouldn't they? In this league, there are 51 players who make $20 million a year. There's 124 players who make $10 million a year. That's almost half the league. The union people who support this move want to see people make money. I can't say anything other than why not?
Right. I can't either. What your quote? You didn't go to your quote. Your Don Ohlmeyer go-to
Don
quote.
Ohlmeyer, the answer to all your questions is money.
And by the way, if we're going to sit here and talk and identify players and owners, let's identify networks, because there are two of them involved, and they very much have to look at their bottom lines as well. So everybody involved, not just 2/3 of the everybody's involved, has to look at what it means for them. And so, yes, I think it's that, Tony. I think also you can get to other, incidental points, if you will, like getting a season in before you get to the Olympics. Because, Tony, I'm told, if you can't just sort of be a player and say you choose FIBA, meaning playing for your nation over the NBA, because FIBA and the NBA have a deal. So you also need to finish the season, whatever it is, before the Olympics start, because professional basketball players are involved. It is not as simple as saying, American players or players representing the U.S., or the U.S. could cobble together a team of players not in the playoffs any longer and probably win the gold medal. But it's not that simple, because other players have to decide what to do. And there is, God, I shouldn't use the word pressure, but it's important for them in many cases, Tony, as you know, to represent their countries.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about the fact that people don't get a lot of time off. I got some numbers here that are good. 8 teams haven't played since March. 6 more haven't played since mid-August. 8 more haven't played since the end of August. They're going to get 3.5 months off. If LeBron doesn't want to play because he played till the last time and he wants more than a month and a half or 2 months off, then don't play for a while. It's not like that team isn't going to make the playoffs. The English Premier League, Mike, they restarted after 48 days off, a month and a half. Everybody play. Just go play. Bob Nightingale writes in USA Today that, quote, Cleveland, strapped for money, intends to trade all-star shortstop Francisco Lindor by opening day, unquote. Lindor is projected to earn $21 million this season, his final year before becoming a free agent. Wilbon, does this feel like a Mookie Betts type regret in the making?
Yes, it does, Tony. That's what I was thinking as soon as I heard this. Lindor is a hell of a player. And he hasn't won a World Series. He's been in one. He was a tremendous player then at a very young age. And it looks like, wow, when you see the words cash strapped. And I don't know that I thought of, other than the Marlins, I haven't thought of any baseball team being in that. The Oakland A's would always like you to think that, and then they figure out a way. But yes, this feels like a Mookie situation. The Cleveland Indians, Tony, in the last 20 years or so, they have been a team that has been 5th and 4th and 9th and in those positions in terms of salary payout. So it's not like cash strapped has always described that franchise. But if that's being used now and you got a player like this and you can't keep him, that's trouble.
Yeah, I don't relate it to Mookie Betts for a very specific reason. Boston has money and chose not to spend it. I'm willing to believe that Cleveland is not in a Boston situation. What I know about Lindor is this. He's a great player, and everybody on the team likes him. He's got 2 Silver Sluggers. He's got Gold Gloves, and you're telling me you want to trade him. So what it says to me is this is the pandemic working. This is a signal that some teams in this league in smaller markets, not L.A., not New York, not the Cubs or even the Red Sox, but some teams, they may, without a gate, without concessions, not have enough money to pay great players.
Maybe.
It's possible.
Maybe, Tony. And if that's the case, we're going to have a bigger story. Because Cleveland can't be the only one affected by that, by having no gate and no concessions and no parking. And a beautiful downtown ballpark. It's not full anymore like it was when it was first built, or even like it was in 15 and 16 and 17. It hasn't been full like that in a couple of years. But, if you hear this about the Cleveland Indians, then who else is it going to be true about? What else are we going to see coming down the pike? And how many teams without similar gate and concessions and parking and all of those revenue streams, how many of them are going to be in the market to pick up a Lindor?
Well, I think certainly the Mets and the Yankees are going to play for everything they can and try and get people. But there's another side to this. Lindor is 1 year away from free agency. He may want to pack up and go on his own. We talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, and what if they don't get anything for Giannis? Maybe they should trade him now. So maybe this is a shrewd move by a smaller market team. Let's take a break. coming up, what is more likely, that the Steelers go 16-0 or that the Jets, the team of your youth, Wilbon, that they go 0-16?
And would Notre Dame upsetting Clemson on Saturday make college football more or less fun? It's a nice thing.
Lindor is going to get a pile of money.
If teams are still paying a pile of money, unless others are cash strapped.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by Grey Goose. Drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Next on SportsCenter, Tony and Mike standing by for PTI's bonus topic. Plus,
open your betting apps and input your wagers because it's time for Tony to rack up another win in toss-up. What's first?
Toss-up, what's more likely? The Steelers go 16-0 or the Jets go 0-16?
Well, neither is likely, but it has happened. The Patriots went 16-0 in the last 13 years. The Lions and the Browns went 0-16. Mike, I'm going to give you the schedules.
Okay.
I know you love the Steelers. At Dallas, Cincy at home, at the Jaguars, home with the Ravens, home with Washington, at the Bills, at the Bengals, home with the Colts, and at the Browns. Okay? And then I'm going to give you the Jets schedule. New England home Monday night, at Chargers, Miami home, Vegas home, at Seattle, at Rams, Cleveland home, at New England. Who do you like in this?
Well, the Jets seem to me to have a real chance going 0-16, Tone, because they're dreadful. They are just dreadful. And there's no reason to think particularly that they're going to get any better. Sorry, Coach Gaze. But, Tony, the Steelers, I see the Steelers being a team that could go to the Super Bowl or at least the AFC title game against Kansas City. But yet they got Cincinnati twice, Cleveland, these division games, and Baltimore. I don't care where the game is. So, I see the Steelers losing 2 or 3 times, but at 13-3, they can still win the Super Bowl. The Jets are dreadful. Sorry, because I know that's the team of your youth.
Yeah, I know, but I'm in agreement with you. I actually think that this Monday night game at home against New England, if the Jets lose that, I think they can run the table. Because I think they're going to be tremendously dispirited at that point. They're a terrible team. They average like 11 points a game on offense. The next lowest is 18. I got this great quote from Sam Darnold. Quote, "We've just got to win one. If we win one, who knows?" I know. You're not any good. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Next.
Toss-up, what makes the college football season more fun? Clemson winning or Notre Dame winning?
I think it's definitely Notre Dame winning. If Clemson beats Notre Dame without Trevor Lawrence, Notre Dame is done. They're toast. It's goodbye to Notre Dame. They don't mean anything. But if Clemson loses this game and keeps Notre Dame in play and validates Notre Dame, that's a good thing for college football because Notre Dame has its own network. Notre Dame is a real big deal. It doesn't hurt Clemson, Mike, because they don't have Trevor Lawrence. It sets up the rematch down the road, Clemson, Notre Dame 2 with Trevor Lawrence. I just honestly think it keeps more balls in the air if Notre Dame wins this game.
You're killing me. Because you have one piece of logic that governs your entire philosophy of sports, except if it involves Notre Dame. Which is, if there's a superpower, it's always good for the sport. Clemson is that superpower. Clemson winning is the best thing. First of all, Notre Dame isn't going to beat Clemson. Do you hear me? That's not going to happen. Now, Clemson, Tony, is the team that you look at, and if they were to win this game, you'd have everybody just shooting and picking at them, and you'd have a chorus of people proclaiming them the greatest thing ever, and maybe they are the greatest thing ever, but Clemson is the story, not Notre Dame. And what are you doing? You've gone back on everything you profess to take this crazy position.
No, because Notre Dame is the University of football in the United States of America, and they got fans from all over the country. If Clemson wins, it removes the great argument, which is, can Notre Dame do it again when Trevor Lawrence is out there? We don't have any interconference games anymore. We only have conference games. This at least would be a conference game if it was in the conference final of the ACC that people would care about.
Notre Dame, come on.
Notre Dame's
just for a buck.
That's it.
Out for a buck.
Let's
Notre
take
Dame,
one
we're in the
last break.
ACC. Get out.
Still to come.
Get out.
Dolphins coach Brian Flores, who I think went to Notre Dame, no, I'm kidding, responds to the speculation that the team is just giving Tua, who didn't go to Notre Dame, an audition.
And will the Sox bring back Alex Cora to manage the team after his season-long suspension? I'm not going to...
Pardon the Interruption is presented by Grey Goose. Drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Happy time, people. Happy 28th birthday, Odell Beckham Jr. I say Odell Beckham Jr., you say spectacular one-handed catch. He is as exciting a player as there is in football. You can't take your eyes off him on the field or on the sidelines slamming the kicking net. The problem is he isn't on the field as much as you'd like. Beckham tore his ACL in the 7th game this season, so he's gone. He missed nearly all of 2017 when he was with the Giants. Beckham was stunning there. Rookie of the Year in 2014, 390 catches and 44 touchdowns in 5 seasons. Averaged 14 yards a catch. In Cleveland, it's the same 14 yards a catch, and there are 97 of them and 7 touchdowns. The Cleveland situation is ripe with drama, though. This is their 3rd head coach in 3 seasons. Baker Mayfield has or had Beckham and Jarvis Landry. It's an offense that should light up the scoreboard. But Beckham is out, and Mayfield has been far more successful making commercials than making touchdowns. There is all this glamour and not much results.
Tony, there's a nickname that is used to describe Javi Baez, El Mago, the magician. That nickname could be used to describe Odell Beckham. There is magic in what he does, yet, it just seems unfinished. And you wonder if there's going to be a better ending than we've seen so far, than is hinted at so far.
Happy anniversary, Chuck Tanner. On this day 44 years ago, the Oakland A's traded Tanner, who was their manager, to the Pittsburgh Pirates for 3-time All-Star catcher Manny Sanguillen and $100,000. Even then, Oakland needed money, and that was before Billy Beane. This was the first time a manager had been traded for a player in Major League history. The deal wound up being one of the best ever made by the Pirates. Tanner managed them for the next 9 years and led them to the World Championship in 1979. That was the We Are Family, Willie Stargell Pirates. On top of that, Sanguillen left the A's after 1 year, wound up finishing his career playing for the Pirates and for Chuck Tanner. Sanguillen was on the 79 team. Tanner managed 19 seasons overall, ended up with 1,352 wins and 1,381 losses. Tanner managed the White Sox, the A's, the Pirates, and the Braves, but that 1979 team was his only pennant winner.
Tony, he thought he had a winner, or he would have, in Chicago with one of those teams I used to watch as a kid, with Dick Allen, who was the MVP, Wilbur Wood, Carlos May, Bill Melton, the one-time home run champion. He thought he had the goods there, but those White Sox teams couldn't beat the A's. Could not get past the A's, even with Dick Allen being an MVP and having 2 great seasons while he was there.
Happy trails to the speculation that the Dolphins are just auditioning Tua. Miami coach Brian Flores is pushing back hard on the notion that the reason the Dolphins went to Tua is to give them, the Dolphins, enough games to see if they want Tua long term, or if they want to use the #1 draft pick owed to them by the Houston Texans this year to draft a quarterback. Say Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields if the pick is high enough. Flores said, and I quote, "There's a couple of things out there, let's call it a source close to the Dolphins' thinking, saying that we are auditioning Tua. I'm just going to tell you about my thinking. We brought Tua here because we believe in him. We believe in developing players and improving players. That would be the opposite of giving someone a 10-game audition," unquote. Well, good for Brian Flores for backing his player. But that doesn't mean the Dolphins aren't doing this to see if they want to keep Tua or draft another quarterback, because that would be smart. That would be in Flores' best interest.
Tony, the Dolphins are as ruthless as any other team in the NFL. If you don't think so, you can just ask the guy Fitz, who was sitting to the right or left of Tua, because he knows all about playing your heart out and giving your team a chance to win. And they say, we're going to the other kid in the bullpen. So Tua better not ever in that league get too comfy.
Going to the lefty. One correction, Flores went to BC, not Notre Dame. One omission, the Pac-12 canceled this weekend's opener between Washington and Cal due to a positive COVID test.